What's up, everybody? It's Danny Green here, back with more Inside the Green Room. It is about to be a new year. Happy holidays, a Merry Christmas. So we have a yearly end take on what we've, been through and been over this past year. And we have a lot of other things to discuss that have happened in the last couple of weeks. So, H, let's get right into it, man. What you got?
Let's get into it, my friend. Again, happy holidays to everybody. Thank you again for everybody who's been rocking with the podcast since Danny turned to Grizzlies since the beginning of the year. And I hope you're excited about what we got tuned up for 2023. Should be a fun year for everybody involved. And it should be a fun year, Danny, because once again, my friend, you are in the middle of some of the best drama in the NBA.
Always.
Before it was Ben Simmons, and we'll get to Ben Simmons and the Brooklyn Nets and the Philadelphia 76ers later in the show. Then before that, it was, obviously the unfortunate time with the Lakers and the passing of Kobe Bryant, which is a different type of drama. And then you had the whole Kawhi thing with the Toronto Raptors when you ended up going there. We're going to talk about the Raptors too. But first, let's talk about the drama that you're currently in now. Probably the best team in the NBA at working their chops, being vocal about their ambitions. The Memphis Grizzlies said a number of things that caught the national headlines over the past week leading into their Christmas game. Yeah. Whether it was Ja Morant, not worried about anybody in the West, or if it's Mr. Inspector Klay Thompson digging back into the files and finding a Dylan Brooks quote where he said that the Memphis Grizzlies were building a dynasty, which was something he said back in March 2022. It all came to a head Christmas Day, where I thought you guys were going to have a nice showing against the Warriors. It did not turn out to be that way in the box score. One word to describe the Grizzlies' Christmas Day experience, Danny.
Disappointing. I mean, any other word to describe a loss like that on Christmas is, it's hard to, there's a multitude of words you can use, but I think all around, that was the vibe, that was the feel, that was the atmosphere of the locker room by the end of the game. We had a challenge to step up to, especially a very good team, regardless of who's on the floor or not, but without their superstars some of their better players, Steph Curry and Andrew Wiggins. We felt we didn't step up to the challenge the way we needed to or the way we should have. And that wasn't just on Christmas Day, but the road trip. We went 1-3 on this road trip, and a lot of it was disappointing. Obviously Denver, another top team in the West. Golden State, top team in the West, or top team last year, defending champs, and a very good team. OKC, another team. So we pretty much only one game out of those four, played up the way we know we were capable of, and that was against Phoenix, who was down a man as well. They were down Devin Booker, who might be out and probably will be out again when we play them this upcoming week. All around, all in all, it was disappointing. So, we feel like if we want to be one of those teams that we speak about, can't just do it with words. We have to do it with actions. And all the things that have come up in the media outside of ourselves, obviously they're watching everything we do, from tunnel dances to quotes to podcasts to media things. First and foremost, congratulations, Ja Morant, on your new signature shoe deal. It was amazing to see. And, obviously Kari, who other than to present it to him. But his last interview, Shannon Sharp had something to say. Klay had some receipts. They all have receipts, and they have a lot of things that some of our guys have said in the past that they pulled receipts on. I know Klay pulled some receipts on Jaren in the past in the playoffs. So they remember it, and they're watching us. They know what's going on. They know who's coming. They know we're a threat. They know we're capable, but they know we're not there yet. And for us to act like we are, they are 100% correct. We are not there yet. We cannot speak it only without, backing it up with action. I agree with a lot of things that all those guys have said, from Shannon Sharp to Klay, that it takes a lot of dedication and commitment, and we can't just go out there and speak it. We have to go out there and do it. But in the same breath, I will say that, how else is Ja supposed to feel? He's a very confident young man and he's a good player, superstar, and he's confident in his team. So that's how he should speak. It's a different type of times now. You don't have to be old school. You don't have to speak softly and carry a big stick, as a lot of people would say. pause. But hey, guys go about things differently. They don't have to be quiet. It's not those times anymore. So Josh's supposed to be, who he is. He wouldn't be him if he didn't speak how he spoke. Dylan the same way. The guys are very confident, but at the same breath, these were great tests for us. We know we can get better. We will get better from them, learn from them. We did not, but the same breath said they were disappointing and we didn't accept the challenge, but it is something that will help us in the long run. And hopefully we get, back into rhythm. Dez just came back, to second game back and get 100% healthy. And guys will, learn from this to, I guess, not speak so much before, I guess, backing up with our actions. That's something that I guess I could come in as a vet to try to provide that, that knowledge. We know, I think they're all understanding, don't mess with the basketball gods. If you don't do things the right way, things will turn on you. And, said, don't count your eggs before they hatch, but, we're not there yet. So we have a ways to go, but I think we will get there and it's something to learn from. So I think from here on out, I would hope that we're just about our business and not about, talking. So we'll see how it goes from here.
Yeah, I'm of the mindset that I don't really. Again, I'm not a basketball player. I work in the media, so I like it when players talk. It makes our job easier. With that being said, I'm not gonna be mad or disappointed or make negative comments about players talking. Because again, I want them to be confident. I want them to talk. And to be honest with you, it'd be great if players talked and backed it up. That's great entertainment for me. That's great. That's a great story. Because again, a lot of the way that Job probably talked, the way that Dylan mentioned the dynasty, that's probably just how they feel on the inside. And I'm sure almost every team that's a good team or a pending great team feels that way. It's just sometimes they just don't get the microphone to say it.
Yeah, the platform. You can look at both sides of the spectrum, man. And I love both sides. I like teams that are quiet and handle the business. I like teams that are confident themselves and talk a little trash, talk a little shit, and we'll get up in your face and let you know this is what we're about. And that's who we are. And that's how they are. They're not going to change who they are. And I think it's more of an old school feel. And I think some of that needs to come back more to the game. It makes the game more exciting. It makes it more competitive. It makes it a lot more fun. Back in the day, they used to talk a lot more trash. Now it's like, don't wake the sleeping bear. You know what I'm saying? And they're like, no, we're not scared of anybody. We're not going to back down anybody. So I see both sides of the spectrum. I respect it. I like it. I'm a part of it. It's a different thing for me because we didn't do that in San Antonio. We didn't do it in other places, but I'm all for it. We know we have a target on our backs and we're embracing it and we're not backing down or scared of anybody. And we're okay with speaking up first, but now we have to take actions to back it up. And that's the next step for us. We have to continue to back it up with our play.
Yeah, again, it becomes even sweeter when you do back it up. With that being said, team did not back it up. And it's a regular season game. It really matters in the playoffs. But Danny, I think I'm starting to understand. Remember when you got traded to the Grizzlies, or even back when the season was over in Philadelphia, and you mentioned the Grizzlies as one of those teams that we should be watching out for. You said they just have to mature. Yep. And I think during this road trip, I finally understood, at least I think I understand what you meant by mature. Handful of possessions, if not more. I saw the foul trouble really getting to Dylan Brooks and Jaren Jackson. Yeah. Love Jaren Jackson. Shout out Jaren Jackson for signing my brother's birthday gift. The first time I've ever asked an athlete for an autograph. I appreciate you, my guy. With that being, again, my brother went to Michigan State, so it's a whole go green, go white thing. You guys can do better with your champ, your team champ, but that's another story for another day. But again, so he goes for these blocks, and the referees don't. We all love seeing somebody go for every block, but those result in foul trouble. And you're not going to beat the Warriors, especially if they're humming, or Jaren Jackson playing 20 minutes. Same thing could be said for Dylan Brooks. I know he wants to lock up Klay Thompson. I know he wants to lock up Jordan Poole. And I know he wants to be aggressive, get some steals. But when you try and go for all those steals or those blocks or be aggressive, you pick up those quick 2 fouls. Now you're taking out the game. And when you come back, now you're pressing. Now you're not in rhythm. And I don't think maybe they understand, but they just haven't applied how important they are to the team, even if they're not shooting well, but just their presence on the court, being there, even if Jaren doesn't get every block, just his presence there makes a difference. And they've taken themselves out of games. And so the Nuggets game and also this game against the Warriors basically took themselves out the game, because when they got back in, they started pressing. Bad shot attempts, uninspired field goal attempts. What would you say to them in this? I'm assuming you agree. And how do you operate past this moment now?
I do agree. And I have spoken to both of them. Dylan, as being our primary defender on ball, he can be physical, but he has to pick and choose his moments, just like with Tripp. Big shout out to both of them. They're up for Defensive Player of the Year, because I think they both are very well deserving. Since Jaren's come back, our defense has gone, way up in that aspect. We've held teams to a better, efficiency on that end of the floor type thing. So, and Dylan, night in, night out, hasn't missed many games, is guarding the primary guy and has, done a really good job on the primary guy. That just goes to show you, for us being great, we need those two guys on the floor, just their presence. And when they're not on the floor, it helps. It also takes them out of rhythm. So when they come back in, they're taking those shots. So we're down, we're in panic mode, especially when a team like Golden State, when they have their bench playing the way they're playing, we need those guys on the floor, like you said. And I've talked to Jaren about picking and choosing his moments. You can't go for every shot, because sometimes you take yourself out of the play, and also you take yourself out of the game when you get certain fouls. Some things you have to let go. I mean, you're in foul trouble. You have 3 or 4 fouls already. You might have to let those 2 points go, because we need you on the floor. You're more important than that one bucket. Same with Dylan Brooks. It was great of defense he's playing, and even offensively, another threat for us. Maybe he's not used to being the super, so he's not a superstar, but for us, he's a big piece to our puzzle. And what we do, we need him on the floor. So regardless if he's a superstar or not, he is a superstar piece in our system to get to achieve what we want to achieve, and we can't have him off the floor. Dez is struggling a little bit. If Josh struggling a little bit, we need that defense of impact, and those are 2 guys. Those are 2 superstars on that end of the floor. They've been killing it all year. We need them to continue to do that, especially when we're not shooting well. We're not shooting well from 3, and that's usually been the game for us. When the other team makes a lot of threes and we don't shoot well from 3, those are the games we usually lose. It's because we're either in foul trouble or not defending the 3-point line well enough. We need those 2 guys. We need Dylan out there to send them to the rim and get them up 3-point line, and we need Tripp out there to protect the rim and also rebound. So yes, a number of things, a number of ways to look at it. But at the end of the day, we need those guys to be smarter, more mature, picking and choosing moments when to be physical, when to block a shot, and when to just let a play go because it's not worth it, to go for that basket or that block or that steal when it's 2 points, when we need you for the rest of the game. It'll save us more minutes of you being on the floor for us, where we can give ourselves a chance to stay close and be in that game to the end of the game.
Yeah, for sure. And I thought, it was the first time that this is obviously there's different types. When you say the word maturity, some people might think it's, don't dance before the game, or some people might think, say this in the media. They could simply be, no, bro, just make sure you take the best shots and make the best plays defensively on the court. So again, maturity, yeah, exactly. Be smart on the court. So my
thing is, talk your shit, man. Do your dances, have your fun. But when it comes down to business, be ready for business. And if we're not taking care of business, then maybe we might need to cut back on some of those things. But right now, we 50-50. We've been up and down, inconsistent. Obviously, we had some injuries. But I said, I don't mind I don't mind the fun. I don't mind anything. I don't think coach does either. But we have to back it up. And that means when it comes down to business, we got to be one of those more mature, smarter teams and execute for 48 or for longer periods of time, not just offensively, but defensively. And that comes into not making silly plays, silly fouls, and having our best guys on the floor when we need them there. There's been too many times again. And also another thing that's hurt us is free throws and technicals. We've given up a lot of technicals and we've missed a lot of free throws. So those are a couple of things I'm sure all the coaching staff are looking at that we need to clean up and be better with it. We're going to get the short end of the whistle a lot of times, especially being on the road. It's going to happen. They're not perfect. We got to play through it. We got to ignore it. They're not going to change the call. You got to continue to play basketball, because giving technicals, all it does is change momentum and it puts us down another point. So we got to, a couple of things that we need to look at, a couple of things we need to fix on. I'm sure these are all things that we've all discussed. Coaches discussed with them, and, he's doing a great job of that, but it takes time. And that's the maturing part of it on all levels, all aspects of our team and our group. And, we're starting to, I think guys since last year have gotten a little better, but we still have a ways to go.
Danny, I don't know if you played the Mariah Carey track
Not yet. We were
for
supposed
for the
to. So
guys?
Christmas Day was supposed to gonna happen after the win. That's when I was gonna do it,
Ah,
but it didn't turn out that way. It didn't happen that way. So I'll have to play. We have Secret Santa tomorrow, so we'll be in the locker room. We'll actually be. We've been on the road for so long. I've been able in the locker room on the aux cord to play it. So we'll have a walkthrough, and then hopefully through the walkthrough I'll be able to play some of it, or we'll see how it goes. To start a fresh, new positive atmosphere before we get into the game against Phoenix. So we'll see how it goes tomorrow.
yeah. I was also going to say you could have also played. I guess I'm giving a lot of musical references nowadays. You could play one of my favorite albums of the year 2022, Simba. Results Take Time is the
That's a
name
good
of
one.
the album.
So I
Results
had two
Take Time.
songs. I'm with the Simba. I'm with the Simba movement. He's a very good artist, old school guy. Very, even though I think he's from California, the Bay, or wherever he's from, maybe Oakland. I think he reminds me of a New York type of rapper. So I am a fan. But my other suggestion outside of Mariah Carey was the Sweet Yams song. I don't know if you heard it. The Yams Challenge song. You haven't heard it yet, man. You're a little behind, kid.
Nah,
go ahead and download it. It is a good song for you to have for your holidays, kid.
Where I'm from, I would take a totally different interpretation of what that song means. But I'm referring to Simba.
Can
Results.
I get to the Can I get to the Yams? Yeah. You're gonna know what it is after this podcast.
Memphis Grizzlies on the team soundtrack should be Simba. Results Take Time. I think that's a good one to motivational uses. All right. Again, and as it pertains to those Dylan Brooks fouls too, you look back. I remember your time with the Lakers vividly, and I remember if you caught those 2 fouls in the first half, bro, it's hard sledding after. Yeah, I mean, especially. Over. Yeah. So
rhythm-wise for me, it just took me, even in San Antonio, it just takes you out of a rhythm as a player, and it hurts the defense. It hurts a lot of what we're doing. You know, obviously in San Antonio, we're deep. We had some people. In Toronto, we were deep, but even still, when that took me out of the game, it took us, I was a big part of what we did defensively in Toronto. In LA, we had a lot of depth, but it took me for sure out of rhythm when I get 2 fouls or so. Mind you, said just the minutes itself in general was already we played so many guys. It was already hard then. But getting 2 fouls, it takes you out of rhythm, and it changes the whole pace, flow of the game offensively of rotational minutes with certain players, certain groups together.
Yep, for sure. So again, you could, one of my favorite phrases, Danny, in order to learn, you must live. So there goes a big learning experience for the Memphis Grizzlies. I also think it was interesting, as now you're the elder statesman of this team. I thought it would have been cool if now obviously you were with the Philadelphia 76ers back last year, and around, I believe it was April, you finally got your championship ring from the Toronto Raptors, the championship ring from 2019. Thanks to COVID and things of that nature, you never got it. And I thought what would be cool is if actually you didn't get your ring then, and you actually got it this upcoming week, because you are going to Toronto to take on the Raptors. And it would have been this is the team that really needs to see you get your ring to kind of remind them of what it looks like, what it could feel like. For sure. I'm wondering what are your thoughts? First of all, just going back to Toronto again. This time, you're not looking forward to getting a ring. You're just going there. You're not playing. You're just going there to be there. Now it's going to feel a little bit. I wonder how. Yeah, go ahead.
I think every team or any team that hasn't won one or hasn't had many experience on a championship winning team should be a part of that experience. So I think Philly for sure needed it. And I think it was better then because I was playing then. Right now I'm not playing at all, so it's a little tougher to receive a ring. But I think, yes, Philly for sure, that group definitely needed to see what it took, to be like, all right, let's hungry. This is something I want. This is something we can do, we can accomplish, and, to keep the refocus on that. And that was right before the playoffs. So I thought it was a perfect time to have the ring ceremony was with Philly right before playoffs. And we were about to play Toronto in that first series. So I thought it was great timing. Obviously, this team is another team that probably should experience it. I would love to have experience with them so they can see like, oh, this is what hard work, this is what commitment, this is what it all, comes down to. This is what this is what it pays off to. But unfortunately, we're not able to. But it's going to be a lot different. Instead of being in the building, not receiving a ring, and not playing. But I'd still assume and hope that there'll still be a lot of love. There'll still be, familiar. A lot of people will show, a lot of love outside of the arena as well, wherever we go to eat or hang out as a group. But it'll just be a different feel being in that arena and not playing, just like any other arena. When I went back to San Antonio, it's always a home feel, but it's strange when you're playing and when you're not playing. So it's just a different feel, and it's just going to make me more antsy to want to get back on the court. I'm not trying to rush anything, but I do know that's going to make me like, oh man, I wish, even when I'm playing these teams that we played in this past, road trip, it made me like, man, I got to get healthy. We come back to both these cities in a month or so. I want to play back in Phoenix. I want to play in Golden State, before we get to that. So those are goals and targets of mine. But at the same time, it's got to be smart and try not to rush it. So it'll be one of those feelings that'll give me even more of an itch to get back and try to play sooner than I should be.
Yeah, for sure. We'll get to your rehab here in just a moment, but I do have a suggestion. I do hope that so I like how you selectively decide when to pull out the championship bling. I think
it all depends on outfits and cities, I guess. When I did pull it out one time, they thought I was flexing on them. I wasn't trying to flex on the team. But, I was just, I guess, giving them an inside look on what it looks like and what you might want to achieve. So, maybe some of them took it that way, some of them different, but it is selective on when I do bring it out, certain instances, certain cities, or certain teams, certain games. So we'll see how select that. I don't think because they said they thought I was flexing on them. I don't know if I'll bring it out again. But it's usually wifey's pendants that she allows me to wear them sometimes. So yeah, we'll see how that goes the next time that I decide to pull it out.
I think because you just got the ring from Toronto, this is your first time back as a ring bearer. I think it's fair game to cross the border with at least some Toronto Raptor bling memorabilia on your person. And
think so?
and if they think you're flexing, well, tell them to get on your level, and that's that.
I can't do that. I can't do that, pimp. Nah, I'm not here to flex on anybody. I'm not here to.
I'm not saying you're.
I
don't think you're flexing. I just think you're commemorating the time.
For sure.
I don't think don't bring out all three. That's a little aggressive. But I think you just bring out the Raptor stuff. I think it's fair game.
Maybe we'll see, man. We'll see how the fit. It all depends on the fit too. So sometimes. The fit.
Let the fit match the bling.
Sometimes it calls for a certain type of pendants to come out, certain type of jewelry to come out. But usually when I do bring them out, I don't segregate them, man. I keep them all together, pimp. You know what I'm saying? They share a room. They share, you know what I'm saying? They share the same attention. I don't isolate them. I keep them together. So usually, and I don't wear the rings are too big. They're ridiculous, but I'll wear the pendants, and I usually wear all three of them together.
Well, you would have a championship jacket, but you just decided to give that to Scotty Barnes for no damn reason. But that's another story.
Listen, there's other jackets that can be made, man. You know what I'm saying? We know Jeff Hamilton. It's my dog. We can get one with all three teams on there, or depending on when the storybook is ended, we can put on how many teams that I win them with. That's the jacket that I want. I did want the Toronto jacket, but Scotty Barnes, special player. He asked me nicely. Thought he was a good kid. Reminded me of a younger brother. I said, you know what? Young fella, here you go. Since, you asked nicely, and I do believe, but you better make sure you make your mark in this league. And so far, he's doing very good thus far.
Yeah, for sure. Looking forward to watching that game. I always keep my eye on the Toronto Raptors for sure. I wish I could make the trip, but your boy will be working.
It's a damn shame we only go there once too, man.
I know. It is a shame. For those of you who might be interested, I will be on Amazon Sports Thursday and Friday morning on their Bonjour Sports Talk, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. So a little bit different for me. If you'd like to check in and see some of my other sports coverage that does not involve Danny and does not involve sports betting. So there's that. And that's why I'm not going. So you got to do what you got to do. And I'm excited for it.
Good for you, man. Big time. You're still doing big time things.
Just trying to be somebody.
We're proud of you on this end.
Thank you, sir. All right. Let's also get back into it. So this is kind of like year in review. So we've kind of reviewed your times, or looked ahead rather yet, with the Memphis Grizzlies, and kind of reflected on what your impact might be there. We rehashed some of your times in Toronto. Actually, you know what? One word real quick. Describe the emotions of getting your ring the first time.
Oh,
One word.
in San Antonio?
No. Sorry, Toronto.
Oh man, a little nervous, a little nerve-wracking. I mean, like I went to LA, there wasn't many fans. It was still closed to the public. In San Antonio, we did it started the following season, which was exciting, a lot of fun. I got a chance to cheer us on as a group. So doing it individually as one in front of a bunch of fans was very different. It was new for me. But I was looking forward. I'd waited 2 years. I was very much looking forward to it. I was excited finally to get the ring and to be able to show it off to my teammates and let them know, look, this is something we can achieve. I was in Philly at the time. This is something we can achieve. This is something that we can do and go get it. And here's the motivation. Here's all you need to see. So that was what was in my mind, and also finally get to receive my ring and be in Toronto where they showed a lot of love. And I was just hoping that I played a good game, because you never know. You might play terribly, you might play amazing. And I thought I played a decently well game at that point, and this is right before playoffs. So there's a lot of emotions going through your mind and body during that time, but it was a lot of good emotions, and I had fun. They did a great tribute video. It was beautiful. I enjoyed it. It was amazing, and I always can't wait to go back to the city every chance I get.
Yeah, no, you were hooping some of the best basketball that you've played. I think one of the best stretches you had was when there was those wealth of injuries with the Philadelphia 76ers, your first year there because of COVID and all those things. I think one game you tied Dana Barris's record for most threes in the game. And then your next best stretch, in my opinion at least, was when you came in and basically had to take up for all of those minutes from Matisse Thybulle. Really started with that trip to Toronto. You had a really good stretch to end the season. And then, unfortunately, Game 6, second round versus the Miami Heat happened, which leads me to my next question here. And as we kind of look back and everything that's happened over the past year, the torn ACL and LCL injury that happened in Game 6 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. One word, describe what that moment was, and then I'll ask you some more questions to follow up.
Man, as soon as it happened, I knew it was just, it's hard to describe, said one word or put it in a multitude of sentences or comments or whatever you want to put it. It just was a big blow emotionally, because I knew once it happened, it was over. And I just kept saying, first I thought it was, I don't know if I described the story on air before. I think I might have, but I thought it was like dislocated or broken. And I was like, pop it back in. When I looked, my leg was straight, but I knew it was over. I heard everything like shatter, rip, tear, pop, however you want to call it. I heard a lot of that. And then after a while, I was like, you know what, maybe I can stand up. Once I tried to stand and it buckled, I had nothing underneath me. I was like, oh man, this is ugly. But that day I had more hope, because throughout that night, I had swelling, but it wasn't that painful. So I'm like, all right, maybe it's not as bad, and hopefully I can get back in like 3 or 4 months, maybe some small minor surgery type thing. But yeah, once I got the news, I was like, damn, they're like, yeah, it's going to take a year. I was like, at 34, 35, that's a tough one. That's a tough one to swallow, man. Tough pill to swallow. Pause. But yeah, it was just an emotional time. And it was like, all right, you have some decisions to make. What are you going to do? And obviously me, the competitive in me, is like, you know what? Of course I'm going to play. Like, I feel I have a lot of years left. There's no challenge I can't come back from. Some guys like, you might want to retire. You might want to do this. You might want to get into coaching. But no, I feel like I'm still, even though it's older as a player, I'm still young. I'm young as a person, but I'm not young as a player, but I'm not that old. So I still have some time. It's hard to describe that for certain people. They don't really understand, who don't know basketball that well. But yeah, there was a challenge for me this summer to try to get back. And I was going to set up, you know what, once I made the decision, I'm going to get back as soon as I possibly can. It started from there, and in rehab, hours and hours, and still, it's kicking my ass right now, but I'm still hours and hours of rehab. We're at a really good place. I don't like to jinx it. I talked about it the other day on ESPN that I've been doing some workouts on court and playing some one-on-ones, and hopefully we're a couple months out. But other than that, I don't like to give too much of a, this is where we're targeting, this is the date, but so far we're on a really good pace of doing what my goals were to set out to from the beginning.
Yeah, for sure. So you kind of recap what happened there in that moment. And just, forward focusing now. One thing. So I know you have a goal And I know you've been asked it so much that eventually I think it came out that you want to be around, hopefully, February-ish, around that time. Do you feel as if, again, and this is going back to maybe the theme that we started the podcast with, results take time. Do you feel as if you might be pushing it? I was listening to the Zach Lowe podcast, former guest on the show. Shout out to Zach Lowe. And he had a guest on, and they were discussing Joe Ingles' comeback from the ACL injury. And Joe Ingles is back and playing now. And Joe Ingles has registered the fastest return from an ACL injury in the history of, I guess, NBA injury tracking. Yes, it's the fastest return. Yes, the fastest return. And now you would be on, if you came back by that time, you set a new mark for that. Do you find that encouraging? Do you find that like, oh, okay, well maybe I don't need to push as much? Like, when you hear that, how do you evaluate where you are and what your goals are?
I mean, my goals don't change regardless of what the other people think or say, nor am I trying to break records here. I'm just trying to be where I feel like I can be mentally and physically and emotionally. And for me, the bigger picture is to be ready, not just ready by playoffs, but be in a rhythm and have chemistry by playoffs. So I want to give myself time to be acclimated with this group and both have time and minutes on the floor behind the wheel with them. And for me to get used to them and them get used to me, not well before, but, good enough time before playoffs to where we have a gel, we have a system, we have a good feel for each other, to where we're comfortable and that we're confident going into the playoffs, and I may or may not, hopefully I am in that rotation to where I can be effective and be a big piece and hopefully playing at the level that I was. And that's hard to do. So my goal is just to be back to be playing the level that I was playing at, defensively more so than anything, because offensively, there wasn't a lot for me that I needed to do. It was space the floor, run corner to corner, cut back door, fake back door, that, et cetera. But defensively, be able to help guys like Dylan Brooks and Jaren Jackson and everybody else on the floor, to be able to guard out there and give them some relief when they do get in foul trouble or whatever it may be, but be that other secondary defender to be able to, make it tougher on guys like Jordan Poole, Steph Curry. But for me, it says my reaction time, change the direction, my reflexes. That's what makes me who I am. I'm not the most athletic. I'm not the fastest. I'm not the strongest. But I had pretty good reflexes and were able to, get off the floor quick or adapt or change direction or anticipate. So if I feel comfortable doing that, that's when I know that I'm kind of ready. But all the historic things, it would be great to make history, but that's not the goal for me. It's not to make history in terms of coming back, but to just be back and healthy and to not push it. Now, obviously, we are pushing it, but we're pushing it at a healthy, good, steady pace to where, where it's ready and where it won't be re-injured again. But for me, it's just being in that space to where I feel comfortable I can play at a level defensively to where I'm not a liability on the floor, where I'm back to very close to where I was before. Because I know it's tough as you get older, it's even harder, but to be able to guard and be, that defender, the secondary defender, is where my goal is.
Yeah, for sure. I think I remember looking at some of the defensive statistics from last year, like a bunch of graphs. And Matisse Thybulle obviously outpaced a bunch of people in the NBA with his deflections and blocks and steals. But you were pretty much up there, too, in terms of miles covered as a defender while also accumulating steals, blocks, deflections, things of that nature. So it would be nice to see you back at that level. That was, especially this part of your career, if you're still a plus secondary defender, that is very valuable. Obviously, we all counting on the threes to hit. So not a bad position to be in for sure. And I do think you're right. Like, I know, like, at your age, you could hang it up, but you could be very valuable for a very long time.
And that's the goal, man. Try to get back there. Try my best to get back there. And obviously not the soonest. I mean, for me, of course, as a player, you just want to get on the floor as soon as possible. But as in a safe soon or safe early, I guess, approach, the earliest we can get there for me. Obviously I don't want to take my time, but I want to be able to be smart about it, but be there as soon as I possibly can be, but comfortably and where I feel physically, I guess, stable enough to where I know, this is safe. And I don't think that, and the medical staff thinks that I won't re-tear it and that things will go well. And I'm playing pretty good at where I was to last year. It's hard to compare because you don't have the numbers, not all the numbers from last year before the injury. in terms of strength wise with the muscles and knee. But
Mhm.
yeah, I want to be, close enough, if not better, in terms of strength wise. I know I won't be athletic or catch a putback dunks or anything like that, but as long as I'm able to play defense, that's what gives it, gives me the stable or comfort. Once the guys start picking me out, like, oh, put him in pick and roll, or we're gonna ISO him. That's when I'll probably start to think about hanging it up, because I just have too much pride to be one of those guys that's a defensive liability out there.
I feel that for sure. All right, so you dropped the gem on the ESPN broadcast. Richard Jefferson or Beth Mowens, I believe, asked you during the broadcast what you were, where you were targeting in terms of your date, and you kind of let them know you let them know that you just did 1-on-1s for the first time last week. So what's the deal? You trying to guard Ja 1-on-1?
Nah. Well, those guys aren't practicing much anymore. I'm not guarding those guys.
Who you guarding 1-on-1? Yeah.
We're doing some video. We're doing video guys and assistant coaches and stuff like that. And then some of the guys that aren't playing as much will probably go up to that level, with the rookies and stuff like that. Jake LaRavia, Vince Williams, those guys I kind of play my position. But right now, working on video room guys, me getting comfortable doing it first before I step up to those other guys. And that's also, because it's all, a lot of it is reteaching yourself, and also just not being scared to get in a stance or stopping and going, or getting off the floor quick to contest, or rebounding, or going for a block shot, or, when a guy gets close to the basket, he's up under you, are you going to be able to stay low in a stance, that type of thing. So I'm getting used to doing that with playing certain guys. And I will have to shout out Dave McClure, who has been giving me
Dave McClure. Why do I know that? I know that name.
He's a Dookie. He went to Duke, man.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, we played all through high school. This guy was one of the first guys ever bust my ass in high school. And even Duke, we had some battles here and there. And now, it only makes it worse when you get your ass busted by a Dookie. So, the first game, it was a good one. The second one, he busted my ass. So it was a wake-up call. But, I had to get my stuff. I got to get my shit together, man, and make sure I bounce back. It was a wake-up call. I think he took the first 1-on-1 personally. And the second one, it definitely didn't go in my favor. But we got another one coming up, I think, tomorrow as well. So we're working on that for the next couple of days. And then hopefully we'll change up the matchups, the lineups of how we're doing it, but get more comfortable. And then we work our way up to 3-on-3s, and then work our way up to 5-on-5s. But we got some time.
Yeah. What a way to get your competitive juices flowing, then going 1-on-1 with the former Duke basketball player. That's well done. Well done. Yeah. I like that.
Damn, that hurt my confidence. But you need that. You need that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It was fun. It's been fun, man. We're two older guys now. It's like, damn, Dave, we've been doing this for 20 years. Two older guys now going at it. Like, I know that I'm still capable. I'm like, I know I look crazy out here. We feel old. We're old as shit out here playing 1-on-1s. And it's neither one of our games. But, it's the process.
Exactly.
And, we're getting through it, and it's been fun, but it's been necessary. And it's been helping me a lot, especially getting comfortable of getting off the floor, doing certain things and stopping and going and changing direction.
For sure. Okay, so we're obviously, encouraged by where you are right now, and continue to hope that you make continued progress with your injury recovery. And it makes me think back to another person that you played with that went through some injury issues and also went through some other issues as well. Ben Simmons, pulling back the curtain, just going back through the year. Obviously, a majority of your last year had to do with Ben Simmons being active, inactive, eventually traded. Eventually, at one point, you and I talked about this as this current NBA season started, that I think the fun and jokes as it pertains to Mr. Ben Simmons are going to come to an end here soon. Eventually, he's going to get right. I just watched them play the Cleveland Cavaliers Monday night. Nets got the dub. They're on a hot little winning streak. Ben Simmons, I saw him the other night, hit an in and out hook shot with the right. Again, Danny, I think it's over for the Ben Simmons jokes. I mean, obviously, he's still going to be under a crazy microscope when playoffs hit. But Ben is hooping again, and I think he's fitting in very well with the Brooklyn Nets. What are your thoughts on what you're seeing?
Well, I think the fact that they're winning, it quiets all of that. It doesn't matter how well or how well he's pooping or how poorly he's hooping. I think he had that one stretch that he needed to quiet the people. He played well enough. He had an injury, sat out for a little bit, and now he's back. But they're winning games. Kyrie's playing well. Katie's playing. They're all playing well. They have TJ Warren back now, who's been playing really well. Happy to see him, back on the floor, because he was averaging like 40 in the bubble, unbelievably. Got a chance to spend some time with him this summer, throughout the fashion weekend and stuff like that. So it was good to see him hooping and playing well. But those guys are playing well and they're winning games. So as long as they keep winning, he won't have to worry about any of the noise. And he said he's playing pretty good batch of basketball right now, especially since that start. He had that one, brief, I won't say brief. He had a one little phase where he went through pretty well. Obviously he wasn't playing for well, so it got even more quiet. But the fact that they're winning, if they were losing games, of course they're going to look at somebody to blame. There's nobody to blame right now, and the fact that he's playing pretty decent basketball helps a ton.
Yeah, for sure. He's hooping. I think the fun and games are pretty much over. The microscope will be back for sure because he's Ben Simmons. The microscope doesn't escape. Just on a break for now, but I think he's hooping. I think as I've watched him play, there is just a level of confidence that just it feels like I haven't seen it in a very long time, if ever. With the way that he's also trying to score the ball as well when the opportunity presents itself. So interesting team to see. Unfortunately, you're not playing them again for the rest of the season, but I'll keep my eye on them again. We'll see what happens with them. Okay, so he also left, again, just trying to go back to everything that you've been connected to throughout the course of the year. Obviously, he left the Philadelphia 76ers. The Philadelphia 76ers, in my opinion, Danny, are just in the same predicament as the Denver Nuggets. Yeah. Very talented team with a great big man. And throughout the course of time here, especially with trades, both teams made trades during the offseason for some defensive pieces that could also shoot well. Denver gets KCP, who's absolutely shooting the leather off the ball right now. And we all know that he could play defense. They also got Bruce Brown as well, who's a very well-known defender. And he's actually, he's had his moments offensively as well. You look at the Philadelphia 76ers, obviously traded to get DeAnthony Melton. Obviously, we know him as a good defensive guard. And he's actually been shooting the rock really well. They also traded for PJ Tucker, another really good defender who's not getting a lot of shots up. And I know Sixers fans are mad about that, but he is playing defensive. Yeah, he is playing. Yeah, he is playing. Yeah, he's also playing good defense, and he's a reason why they're a good defensive team, and and he's the reason why Denver has had some good defensive moments. I say all that to say, part of the reason why Philadelphia is playing great defense, and part of the reason why Denver has had great defensive moments is because they're not fully healthy. When these teams get healthy, they are confronted with big time issues. Denver, I don't think it is as much because you're going to play Jamal Murray, and you're also going to play Michael Porter Jr. It's just not a question, not a question at all. But there's this conversation now with the Philadelphia 76ers. And, it's something that I felt was a little bit more, it was an issue last year, but I think it's even more prevalent now. When Tyrese Maxey and James Harden in the same backcourt, yes, they're a great offensive pairing. We would still say that they maybe are not maximizing their abilities out there offensively, but they have a ceiling defensively when they decide to play those two. Yeah. Conversely, if you decide to play more DeAnthony Melton, more PJ Tucker, and maybe more Matisse Thybulle, and you kind of
shake Milton,
and you decide to not play Harden and Maxey as much together, you have a better defensive team. And somebody actually asked Doc Rivers about that, bringing Tyrese Maxey off the bench as a sixth man. I was surprised. Oh, we actually got to this point. Maybe the star dust has kind of faded on Tyrese Maxey because it felt like last year that was you can't even fathom asking that question, but it was actually asked to Doc Rivers. I think ESPN also threw a little bit of fire on the flame with it this past weekend during Christmas Day. Jalen Rose and Stephen A. Smith said that Tyrese Maxey is the Sixers' second best player and said you can't bring him off the bench. He's their second best player. Their words, not mine. I asked you, Danny, how do you evaluate the decision that is in front of Doc Rivers? I think it's no question they're a better defensive team without starting those two. But you're not maximizing the offense potentially if you don't start those two. You're not a head coach, but for right now, you are Doc Rivers. What are you doing, bro?
Oh, man. Yeah, I was about to say that. There's the reason why they pay that guy the big bucks, and the reason why my suggestions go in the suggestion box and usually get torn up and thrown out. And they don't listen to him because, if you ask me, I'm more defensive-minded type of guy. And before we even got James, before Ben and all that what happened, and when Ben was sitting out and playing or not playing, I thought it was like, all right, this is a better balance. It's too late now, I think, to put Tyrese off the bench. He's just shown too much. He's too good. But before he was starting, I thought that was the time to do it. And it was, I think we still had Seth at the time. It was either, bring him or Seth, to put him and Seth together in the starting lineup. I think it hurt us defensively. In my mind, I was like, let's have me and Matisse on the wings. And you have Tobias to score, Joel to score, and either Tyrese at the point or Seth at the point. And you bring one of them off the bench. But obviously, I didn't bring that to Doc, but I just thought, that would be a great lineup defensively. It would help us. It would balance us, and we'll have some scoring off the bench. And we even traded for James. I was like, at that point, even Tyrese, young kid, very humble, was like, why are we playing this together? He's like, why not I just come off the bench? I'm like, Tyrese, you're too good now. At this point, you've shown too much. You're averaging 20 a game since James has been here. How can I say, we got this kid, he's so good, we're just going to bring him off the bench? That makes no sense. I mean, you can, but at that point, I felt, and I'm sure the coaching staff felt, it was too late. He was like, I play well with James, but, it helps us with more scoring off the bench. We have no real bench coming off. It was me, Drummond, and, somebody else. We didn't have any scoring. And I'm like, I'm not the guy to help the scoring load in the bench, nor my point guard or facilitator. Drum, he needs another point guard facilitator. And I guess they've split time with Tyrese and James a little bit. But we didn't have a lot of bench scoring, and we struggled. And defensively, it was me. I think Matisse started, but me and Matisse coming off the bench most of the time. And we had just one main defender, and one guy on defense can't carry the whole load. Matisse, how good he was, he couldn't carry the whole defensive load by himself in the starting group. Neither could I myself. So I was like, it helps us both if we do it that way. But it is an interesting predicament Doc is in. And suggestion-wise, I really don't have many, because it's hard with that lineup to say. It's just going to be hard to juggle all those guys, because Shake can score the ball very well, so can Mel, but Mel can play defense. And, Tyrese and James, those are 4 point guards that can score the ball very well. And to juggle that is going to be, a tough, that's why they pay him the big bucks. And honestly, I really don't know what route to go. You can go any route, but I would say, I like to have the mix of them. I'm sure they would probably play 3 of them together. You have Tyrese, you have James, and, DeAnthony Melton probably with Tobias and Joel. And then they probably go like that. They have probably Shake and, what's the name coming off the bench? I'm trying to think who else they might have. Well, PJ.
PJ.
That's going to be tough. It's going to be very tough. But they're going to probably start. No. They'll probably mix up the lines depending on who they play. Obviously, Joel and Tobias are a given. James is a given, and Tyrese. Those are 4 guys. That 5th one, if teams are smaller, they may go small with DeAnthony. They might keep PJ, but they'll have, Shake coming off the bench with Melt, and probably give him a different type of look. But like I said, good thing I'm not a head coach. Good thing I'm still not there. That is a tough one to figure out. So they're on a 7-8 game winning streak right now. And you said that's when the problem comes in, when you have this much talent. It's a good problem to have, but this may be some of the issues they may have when they have everybody healthy, just like Denver may have. And they just got Michael Porter Jr. back. Aaron Gordon's been balling. He's been hooping. Bones Highland's been hooping. So we'll see what both those groups do. Yeah,
no, it's an interesting predicament. And it's when I'm not a GM, but that's why prioritizing 3-and-D players, when you start to put a roster together, makes your life so much easier, because now you don't have to juggle personalities, expectations, egos. Hey, bro, this person can play, this person can score, and they can play defense. They're getting more minutes than you, or they're starting.
The great thing that he has is that with Tyrese, he's still a young player who is very humble and just wants to win. And he doesn't have that I know of anymore yet. And he was very much okay with doing it last year, which told me a lot about him as a person. It was like, this kid is a superstar, but he's a great kid for him to be okay with, like, why not just come off the bench? You have that may make it easier for Doc, but I don't know if Tyrese will tell them that, but that'll make things easier for him. It helps the situation easier when you have certain guys that are okay and comfortable and humble enough and put the team first. There's not many of those guys out there in this league anymore, but we will see how it all unfolds when it comes to that.
For sure. I mean, you look at guys who are in his caliber, Jordan Poole, Tyler Hero, they still got their rookie max extension, even though they came off the bench. And obviously that's, I know everybody cares about, winning, but I'm not going to be upset.
Tyler Hero starting. I think Tyler Hero wanted this, so he made it said, I'm signed back, but I want to start. I think Jordan Poole too, but I don't know. It said all Golden State. But I think Tyrese knows he can still get paid doing what he does. it's all sort of the ego thing, and a lot of those young kids are okay with it. So there's not a lot of guys, especially that are older or more stuck in their ways, or that are superstars, all-stars, that are okay with coming off the bench. But that's the one thing that Philly and Doc has good going for them is Tyrese Maxey and his attitude toward the game.
Yeah. As we look back through the year, that actually just highlighted one of my favorite interviews, and maybe Danny, I'll ask you to pick out one. I think my favorite interview was Charles Barkley, because Charles Barkley is Charles Barkley. He's undefeated. But the best, the most bubbling personality, the most jovial personality, and the best, let's say, mantra that I've learned from in this 2022 season of podcasting came from one, Tyrese Maxey. His mantra, his belief is getting 1% better every day. And damn, if you really focus on that quote once a day, it's a really good way to live your life by. He's a young kid, but that mantra that he's living by, 1% better every day, so damn good. And I encourage anybody who's listening to this podcast who hasn't listened to that Tyrese Maxey interview. We try to do interviews that are not, obviously they're current, but we like to make sure that they're evergreen enough so that you go back and listen to it. So if you want some laughs, you got to go back to Charles Barkley. But I do think it is very inspirational to understand why Tyrese Maxey operates on the 1% better every day mantra. And I think if you listen to it and try to apply it to your lives for 2023, it will be very, very rewarding. Danny, I know we had a bunch of people on the show throughout the course of 2022. And I know you want to shout out everybody, which we will. But if you could think back to one moment, one person, one quote, one interaction, what's the first one that comes to your mind?
Man, there's so many people, man. There's no one quote. There are a couple people, there are a couple interactions that I just love their energy. George Niang, Tobias Harris from Philly, outside of Tyrese, those are my other two guys that I always enjoy kicking with, hanging out with, and chopping it up with. With the new team, I think just understanding and learning about Steven Adams was a delight for me, because you just don't know much about their culture, how they're doing things. And I talk to Steven every once in a while, but some of the questions you guys have, some of the research you guys have done, opened up my eyes to a lot of things that going on that's happened in Steven's life. So I'm still looking forward to getting to know a lot of my other teammates here in Memphis. But those three people that I just mentioned were great. And I said, obviously, the older guys that we've had Doc on, we've had Charles on. Those are great interviews as well. So yeah, be sure to check out all of them. But I think, for my teammates, the favorite ones that I've got a chance to was that George, Tobias, Steven so far. And I love Jaren and Z, but those three guys that I just mentioned are some of the favorite ones that I've had this past year.
Also, too, I know a lot of people are probably still in their fantasy football leagues. Hopefully you passed on and made to the championship round. NFL is getting to the playoff season, so I know it's top on everybody's mind. Shout out to Devonta Smith, Eagles now second-year wide receiver. Absolutely balling for my fantasy team right now. He's also been a former guest on the show. Good kid, and obviously a good football player, because the boy
he is balling for sure.
He's balling right now.
Yeah, Devonta, he's good.
Yeah, he's good. He's got the goods for sure. So with that also being said, Danny, I think that's actually going to take us to the end here. Also too, I guess we're getting close to New Year's. There is a tradition that I was put onto last year. I kind of messed it up. I'll tell you what it is, and then we can go from there. So I have a Dominican friend. Shout out to Sid and Leo, my homies from LA, who are from New York, but I knew them from LA. You put in 12. You put in for every month of the year 12. You put in a grape during the countdown. So 12, 11, 10, 9, and each time you put in a grape in your mouth, you're supposed to eat it. Okay. Well, my dumb ass, I didn't take the directions properly. So I put the grape in my mouth, held it, and then put in another grape. So when it's time to say Happy New Year, I had just 12 grapes in my mouth like this. In my
You're
cheeks
holding
all
like a hamster, like a damn stolen grapes in your face.
yeah. I was doing. People were like looking at me like, "What is he doing? What is he doing?"
Supposed to eat the grapes as you're.
You're supposed to eat the grapes. Yes. But one thing, it was a great suggestion by my homegirl Sid, and I hope people kind of take this. With those 12 grapes, you're supposed to write out 12 things that you accomplished during the new year, or during this year that you are proud of, and then your 12 goals for the new year. Sid, I didn't get to all of my 12 goals, but I got pretty damn close, and I'm happy about that. So thank you for making me go through that exercise. That was pretty
Good
dope.
job, Sid.
Yeah, Danny, I'm curious now. We don't got time to do all 12. But if you wanted to name your top 3 accomplishments, since you're a 3-point shooter, you got 3 rings. Let's do 3. 3 things that you're happy with this past year, and 3 goals for the new year.
Oh, I mean, that's
you don't got to do 12. You got time to do the whole 12.
That's
12 things.
6. You went 3 from the past year and 3 for the new year. Well, for the new year, 1 is get healthy. 2, obviously play in the playoffs, play for a championship. Hopefully that's the goal. Win a championship, win another championship. 3 is to be back hopefully be back in Memphis or a city or a team like Memphis, to where, we have a good group. I would say be back with Memphis, honestly. So 1, get healthy. 2, play for a championship. 3, it'd be nice to come back to a city and a team like Memphis that, really believed in me, appreciated me, and wanted me here. And he said, hopefully things gel and go right. You never know how things are going to happen. But so those are 3 things for the new year for me. 3 things that I was happy about that I accomplished last year. Man, 1 was get my Toronto ring.
Yeah.
2, man, because I said we played in Philly, played in the play. We've got hurt in the playoffs, but I guess 2 was to be back, I guess, in the NBA. It's tough to say just be back in the NBA.
But you were back to yourself.
Yes, getting back to myself. But 3, getting with a team after injury, and just being a part of a roster, being a part of an organization that actually wanted me and seeing the value in me. So that was something that I was very happy about from this past year, and said that seeing the same vision or seeing the same goals that I had, and believe that I can achieve those goals, the ones that I have set out for myself and for the team. So those are definitely 3 things, pretty much the same things as the future, but they kind of go hand in hand.
I will say, so I'm making a new rule, Danny. So we're starting a new rule. Obviously, we will do this podcast next year, and we'll do it through next year because 1, we like doing this podcast stuff, and 2, why not? Here's what I'm going to do, Danny. And first of all, thank you to everybody again who's listened to the podcast. I've gotten a number of DMs over the past month or so, especially after the Steven Adams interview. A lot of people enjoying the show. I don't respond to them all, don't have the time, but I see them, and you are appreciated. Here's what I'm going to do, Danny. And this is my semi-motivational way to inspire people in the new year. Make your list of 12 things that you have accomplished this year. And when we do our end of the year recap next year, also send us your list of 12 things that you would like to accomplish. If you accomplished all 12 things, send that picture of that document that you had, send it to Danny and I will formally congratulate you with some type of gift. Don't know what the gift will be, put yourself in the running for it. And also, even if you don't put yourself in the running, you also accomplished 12 things that were on your goal list.
Signed jersey, maybe signed shoes, or maybe they can make some suggestions on gifts that they're looking for. We'll see.
But here's the thing: even if you don't end up getting the gift, courtesy of Inside the Green Room, you accomplished your 12 things on the list, which is pretty damn cool.
That's a gift in itself.
That is a gift in itself. 12 things you're grateful for. 12 things you would like to accomplish. Get it done before the new year. I think you will find yourself very rewarded by the end of it all. Danny, any last words before we get out of here?
Read, rate, subscribe, review. We appreciate you guys. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and have a Happy New Year. We'll see you guys in the new year, or maybe before then. So we'll see. But happy holidays. Hope you enjoy your loved ones, and we will see you guys on the flip side, or maybe in the new year.
Hey, DJ, I will say this, though, before we get out of here. We need to start making some inside the green room blankets. It's colder than a mug, bro.
Man, cold fronts everywhere, pimp. Cold fronts everywhere. Yeah, a little green room, inside the green room snuggies or something.
Yeah, the Snuggie. Bring back the Snuggie. Yeah, I'm with it. All right, y'all. A pleasure. Until next time. Until next year. Deuces.